my sister declared no babysitting for 5 kids? Don't even come. Our parents supported her. I replied, then my $18,000 won't be attending Christmas either. I canceled all travel arrangements with my sister's family. My phone rang off the hook. The locks were changed, my bags were on the curb, and my own mother wouldn't even look me in the eye. That's how it felt the moment Olivia's text message hit me. It wasn't just an uninvitation to Christmas. It was an atomic bomb detonating in the center of my family, forcing me to stare down a brutal, inescapable truth I'd spent a lifetime avoiding. This was 3 months before Christmas, a time that usually hummed with festive anticipation, not the icy dread that now coiled in my gut. The digital glow of my phone screen felt strangely ominous, holding a request that would ignite a firestorm I never saw coming. My older sister, Olivia, had just dropped what she thought was a casual request into our family group chat. "Hey everyone, so excited for Christmas in Utah this year," she'd typed, a string of exclamation points trailing like confetti. "Quick thing. Just need someone to watch Liam, Ava, Noah, Isabella, and Ethan on Christmas Eve while Kevin and I hit the slopes. Shouldn't be more than 5 or 6 hours. Thanks. 5 kids. 5 children ranging from a 10-month-old infant to an 11-year-old. I love my nieces and nephews, truly, but babysitting that crew isn't a favor. It's a full-on, high-stakes daycare operation where you're constantly preventing a house fire." I was the first to respond, maybe a little too quickly, my fingers flying across the keyboard. "Olivia," I shot back, "I'm coming to relax and spend time with family, not to run a daycare operation." The 3 dots appeared and disappeared for an agonizing eternity, each flicker a tiny stab of anxiety. Then her response landed, sharp as a thrown knife. "Wow. Okay, I guess we know where your priorities are. Family helps family, but whatever." My blood immediately started to prickle, a slow burn rising. Mom, Martha, jumped in immediately, playing peacemaker. "Sweetheart, it's just a few hours. Olivia and Kevin never get time alone together." That's when the actual blood pressure spike began. Seriously? Olivia and Kevin have regular date nights. They'd just returned from a weekend getaway in Sonoma Valley 2 weeks prior, a fact I knew thanks to the 17 Instagram stories I'd been subjected to. Meanwhile, I work 60-hour weeks as a financial consultant and hadn't taken a proper vacation in 8 months. "Mom, I'm taking precious vacation days to be there," I typed back, the words practically vibrating with my frustration. "I'd like to actually enjoy Christmas, not spend it wiping noses and breaking up fights." Then Dad, Robert, chimed in, solidifying the united front. "Your sister does a lot for this family. The least you could do is help out for one afternoon." A lot for this family. The irony burned, a bitter taste in my mouth. I'd paid for Mom and Dad's 20th anniversary cruise. I'd sent money when Dad's business hit rough patches. I'd covered Olivia's emergency dental work 2 years ago when her insurance fell through. But apparently, none of that counted when she wanted a free babysitter. The messages kept coming, each one twisting the knife deeper. Olivia's next text made my jaw clench so hard I heard it crack. "You know what? If family isn't important enough for you to spend a few hours with your nieces and nephews, maybe you shouldn't come at all. We don't need negative energy ruining Christmas." I stared at my phone, reading those words over and over, my eyes blurring. 18 years. 18 years of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who always helped out. And this was my reward, an ultimatum. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could back down, apologize, agree to babysit. That's what the old me would have done. The good daughter who always sacrificed herself for family harmony. But something inside me finally snapped. Here's the thing, I couldn't be that person anymore. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," I typed, my thumb shaking with a mixture of fear and defiance. "You're uninviting me from Christmas because I won't provide free childcare." Olivia's response was immediate, almost gleeful in its self-righteousness. "If you're going to be selfish, then yes. This is supposed to be about family." Mom added her 2 cents, "Honey, just say you'll do it." Why are you making this difficult? Why was I making this difficult? The audacity was breathtaking, a physical blow to my chest. In many family systems, there's often an identified patient or a scapegoat, a member who absorbs the family's dysfunction. In this case, I had unknowingly stepped into the role of the rescuer or fixer, and my family had become accustomed to this dynamic. When I deviated from this established role, their reaction wasn't just about babysitting, it was about maintaining the comfortable, albeit unhealthy, equilibrium they had grown to depend on. My refusal disrupted their entire narrative, and they couldn't process it. Instead of stewing, I opened my laptop, not to vent, but to pull up receipts. Not metaphorical ones either. Actual cold, hard financial receipts. I'd been planning this Utah Christmas for 6 months. Olivia had chosen an upscale ski resort in Park City, Silver Peak Resort, one that cost a fortune during peak season. She'd sent the booking link to the group chat with a breezy, "Let's make this Christmas unforgettable." What she hadn't mentioned was that she expected everyone else to foot the bill for her family's accommodations. I'd already paid for her cabin rental, Kevin's lift tickets, ski lessons for the 3 oldest kids, and a portion of their flight costs. The total? An eye-watering $18,247.89. I'd done it gladly, genuinely believing this would be a beautiful family Christmas. My bonus had come through in October, and I wanted to give everyone a special holiday after the tough year we'd all had. Dad's business struggled. Mom dealt with health scares. And Olivia, she complained endlessly about money being tight with 5 kids. Now she was holding Christmas hostage unless I agreed to be her unpaid nanny. My phone buzzed again. Olivia had sent a message to the group chat. "Since some people can't be bothered to help family, maybe we need to reconsider who's really committed to making this Christmas happen." That did it. I was done. I opened my credit card account, navigating directly to the resort's cancellation policy. 72 hours for a full refund on the cabin. I was within the window. My fingers moved across the keyboard with a singular, fierce purpose, a strange calm washing over me despite the whirlwind inside. First, I canceled the 3-bedroom cabin I'd rented for Olivia's family at Silver Peak Resort. The confirmation email arrived within minutes, a small, satisfying ping. Then, the ski lesson package for Liam, Ava, and Noah. Another confirmation. Kevin's lift ticket package, canceled. The partial flight reimbursement I'd promised. I drafted an email explaining that due to unforeseen circumstances, I wouldn't be able to provide those funds. With each cancellation, a tangible weight lifted from my shoulders, replaced by a growing sense of liberation. And just when I thought the storm had passed, a new wave was about to crash over me. Then I composed my response to the family group chat. My hands were steady, my resolve ironclad. "Olivia," I typed, "you've made your position clear. If I'm not welcome at Christmas unless I provide free labor, then I have to respect that boundary. However, I should inform everyone that I've canceled the following arrangements that I previously paid for. The 3-bedroom cabin at Silver Peak Resort in Park City for your family, $8,900. Ski lessons for the kids, $1,850. Kevin's lift ticket package, $425. And I will not be providing the $7,728 I promised toward your travel expenses. I've also canceled my own accommodations and flights. My $18,000 apparently wasn't invited to Christmas either. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday." I hit send before I could second-guess myself, before the tremor of doubt could resurface. My phone exploded. Within 30 seconds, Olivia was calling. I declined. She called again. Declined. A text message appeared in all caps. "What did you do?" Mom was next. "Please tell me you're joking. Call me right now." Dad followed. "This is completely unacceptable behavior. Call your mother." Olivia had apparently created a new group chat without me and tore into our parents, because suddenly they were both blowing up my phone individually. I just turned on Do Not Disturb and poured myself a very large glass of wine. The next morning, I had 43 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I scrolled through them while drinking my coffee, feeling a strange, unsettling detachment. Olivia's messages devolved from angry to panicked. She'd called the resort and discovered everything had indeed been canceled. The cabin I booked was already rented. The ski lessons were filled with a wait list. Christmas week in Park City doesn't have last-minute availability. Her text screamed, "You've ruined Christmas for your nieces and nephews. How can you be so cruel? Do you have any idea how much this is going to cost us now? We can't afford this. Mom and Dad are devastated. I hope you're happy." Mom's messages were a mixture of disappointment and desperation. "Please, please, sweetheart. This has gotten out of hand. Let's talk about this like adults. Your father and I are very upset. Family doesn't treat family this way." Olivia is beside herself. "Think about the children." Dad's messages were shorter, angrier. "Your behavior is disgraceful. You will apologize to your sister and fix this immediately. I didn't raise you to be vindictive. This is not how our family operates." I sipped my coffee and felt absolutely nothing. Maybe that should have worried me, but it didn't. Around noon, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered out of sheer curiosity. "Jesus Christ, Chloe, do you know what you've done?" Olivia's voice was shrill enough to shatter glass. "I believe I clearly outlined what I did in my message yesterday. You can't just cancel everything. The kids are crying. Liam keeps asking why Aunt Chloe is mad at him. The guilt trip might have worked before the dam finally broke, but I'd had 12 hours to think this through, to solidify my resolve. Olivia, I'm not mad at the kids. I'm disappointed that you issued an ultimatum. You told me not to come unless I agreed to babysit. I'm simply respecting your wishes. I didn't mean it like that. You're being ridiculous." "Really?" I shot back, my own voice surprisingly steady. "Because your exact words were, if family isn't important enough for you to spend a few hours with your nieces and nephews, maybe you shouldn't come at all. That seems pretty definitive to me." "Oh my God, you're really going to throw that in my face?" I was frustrated, I said. So was I, Olivia. Frustrated that I'd already spent over $18,000 on this trip and was being treated like an unpaid employee rather than a family member coming to celebrate Christmas. Silence on the other end, thick with accusation. "You never said you were paying for all that." My laugh was bitter, hollow. "Hello? Did you think the cabin fairies paid for your accommodations? The ski lesson elves? Kevin and I just assumed everyone was chipping in." "Everyone was chipping in?" "I chipped in $18,000. What did you contribute?" More silence. "Olivia, I pay for almost everything for your family because I wanted to give you all a nice Christmas. But the moment I set a boundary about not wanting to babysit 5 kids for 6 hours, you uninvited me. So, I uninvited my money. Seems fair, wouldn't you say?" The shift from a genuine gift to a conditional transaction is a common dynamic in exploitative relationships. The gift then becomes a tool of leverage, and the withdrawal of it is framed as an act of malice, rather than a reasonable consequence for a violated boundary. This is a subtle form of emotional manipulation, often seen in families where unspoken expectations override explicit communication. "But the kids," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "The kids will be fine. Take them to your in-laws' house like you do every other year. Or scale back and do something affordable. Most families don't vacation in Park City for Christmas. You know, you're being spiteful." "I'm being consistent. You made Christmas conditional." "So did I." She hung up on me. The messages continued throughout the day. My Aunt Brenda called, having apparently been brought into the drama by Mom. "Chloe, your mother is worried sick. This isn't like you." "Aunt Brenda," I said, trying to keep my voice even, respectfully, "you don't know the full story. I know that family forgives family. Whatever happened, I'm sure you can work it out. Can I ask you something, Aunt Brenda? If someone gave you an expensive gift and then demanded you repay them with free labor, or else they'd take the gift back, would you think that was fair?" "Well, no, but that's essentially what happened here. I gave generously, then set one boundary and was told I wasn't welcome. I'm just following through on the terms Olivia set." Over the next 3 days, the family pressure intensified. Each call, each text, a fresh assault. Olivia posted a vague Facebook status about family members who use money to manipulate and control others, and teaching her children that love isn't transactional. The irony was so thick, I could practically spread it on toast. What made it worse was watching the comments roll in from people who had no idea what actually happened. Distant relatives and her mom friends were falling all over themselves to offer support. You're such a strong woman. Don't let toxic people dim your light. Your kids are learning such valuable lessons about integrity. I took screenshots of everything. Not to use against her, but because I desperately needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. My best friend, Sophia, looked at them and just shook her head. She's really going with the victim angle, huh? Apparently, spending $18,000 on someone makes me manipulative, I muttered, pouring another glass of wine. It was becoming a nightly ritual, a dark ritual to numb the sting. Have you thought about posting your side? She asked. Every single day. But that would just make things worse. Then it becomes a public family war. And, honestly, I'm too tired for that. What nobody knew was that I'd started documenting everything months ago. Not intentionally at first, but I kept all the receipts, all the Venmo transactions, all the messages where Olivia had thanked me profusely for being such an amazing sister and saving Christmas. I had screenshots of her gushing about the cabin I booked, the ski lessons I'd arranged, how perfect everything was going to be. The cognitive dissonance between those messages and her current narrative was staggering, dizzying. My phone buzzed with a message from my cousin Emily. Aunt Martha is telling everyone you had a breakdown and that's why you're acting this way. Just FYI. Perfect. Now I was having a mental health crisis because I refused to be taken advantage of. I typed back, let her think what she wants. The truth will come out eventually, but it bothered me more than I wanted to admit. I called my therapist, Dr. Sanchez, and got an emergency session scheduled. Chloe, you look exhausted, Dr. Sanchez said when I logged onto our video call. Her kind, steady gaze was a balm to my frayed nerves. I feel like I'm being gaslit by my entire family, I told her, my voice raw, ragged at the edges. They're acting like I did something insane by withdrawing financial support after being uninvited from Christmas. Walk me through what you're feeling right now. Angry, hurt, guilty, even though I know I shouldn't be. I keep second-guessing myself. Maybe I should have just agreed to babysit. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe, stop, she interrupted gently, her voice calm but firm. Let's reframe this. Did Olivia give you an ultimatum? Yes. Did you clearly communicate that her ultimatum was unacceptable? Yes. Did she apologize or attempt to repair the situation before you canceled the arrangements? I paused, thinking back to the torrent of angry messages. No. She doubled down. She called me selfish and said I was making things difficult. So, you set a consequence for behavior that crossed your boundaries. That's healthy, Chloe. That's what we've been working toward. Then why do I feel like the villain in everyone's story? Dr. Sanchez leaned forward, her expression empathetic. Because your family has spent years conditioning you to believe that saying no makes you a bad person. You've been the fixer, the helper, the responsible one. The moment you stopped playing that role, they panicked. It's not about the babysitting or even the money. It's about control. Her words hit like a physical blow, a sudden, sharp clarity. You think they're trying to control me? I whispered, the thought both terrifying and utterly, disturbingly plausible. I think they're used to you being compliant. And when you weren't, they used the tools they had, guilt, shame, family pressure, to try to force you back into that role. But you didn't break. You held your boundary. That's enormous growth. And it's terrifying to them. This is textbook gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation where a person or group covertly sows seeds of doubt in a targeted individual, making them question their own memory, perception, or sanity. My family was systematically undermining my reality, making me feel that my perfectly reasonable actions were disgraceful or selfish to force me back into compliance. After the session, I felt somewhat better, a little lighter, but the family pressure didn't let up. My Aunt Brenda started a phone tree. Apparently, everyone in the extended family needed to weigh in on my moral failings. My phone rang at all hours with relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly very concerned about family unity. Uncle David was the only holdout. He called me directly. Your mom's been working the phones like a campaign manager. Thought you should know. What's she saying? I asked, bracing myself for the fresh volley of accusations. That you're being stubborn and prideful? That Olivia's kids are suffering because of your selfishness? That Christmas is ruined and it's all your fault. He paused. She's not mentioning the 18 grand bill. Interesting omission, I said, a dry laugh escaping me, humorless and bitter. Of course not. That would make me look reasonable. For what it's worth, Chloe, I think you did the right thing. Olivia's been coddled her whole life. Maybe this is the wake-up call she needs. Everyone keeps saying I'm teaching her a lesson. I'm not trying to teach anyone anything. I just wanted to spend Christmas with my family without being voluntold into childcare duty. I know, kiddo, but sometimes the lessons we don't intend to teach are the most important ones. After Uncle David hung up, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and started writing everything down, not for social media, but for myself. I needed to see it all laid out, stark and undeniable, to process what had actually happened versus what my family was saying happened. The document grew to 15 pages. Every instance over the past 5 years where I'd provided financial help, every time I'd rearranged my schedule for family obligations, every guilt trip when I'd said no to something. The pattern was undeniable, staring back at me from the screen like a grotesque self-portrait. I'd given Olivia $3,200 for dental work. Paid for Mom and Dad's anniversary cruise, $6,500. Covered 3 months of Olivia's car payments when Kevin was between jobs, $1,350. Bought all the kids' Christmas presents last year because Olivia said money was tight, $2,100. Paid for Dad's business insurance when his policy lapsed for $1,800. The total came to just over $36,000 when including the current Christmas trip. Even without this year's fiasco, I'd given nearly $18,000 in the past 3 years alone. And that didn't include smaller things, birthday gifts, dinners I'd paid for, gas money I'd slipped to Olivia, groceries I'd bought when visiting. I'd been funding my family's lifestyle and didn't even realize the extent of it until I saw it all written down. The document sat on my laptop, damning in its thoroughness. I didn't know what to do with it. Showing it to my family felt like throwing a grenade into an already burning building, but keeping it to myself meant continuing to be painted as the villain. But what about the quiet damage it was doing to me inside? My colleague Rebecca noticed I was distracted during a meeting. Over lunch, she asked what was wrong. I gave her the abbreviated version, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Her eyes got wider with each detail. Chloe, that's a severe pattern of financial exploitation. What? No, they're my family. They're taking advantage of you repeatedly. And when you finally said no, they punished you for it. That's textbook manipulation. She pulled out her phone and showed me an article about family financial dynamics. Read this tonight. I think you'll see some familiar patterns. That evening, I read the article. Then 3 more. Then a whole book about family systems and enmeshment. Every page felt like it was describing my life, the overfunctioner who compensates for everyone else, the family that enables dysfunction by having one member constantly rescue them, the guilt and obligation that keeps the cycle running. I felt sick to my stomach. Had I created this dynamic by always being available, by always saying yes, by never letting anyone face the natural consequences of their choices? Dr. Sanchez had been trying to tell me this for months, but I hadn't really heard it until now, not truly. This is a classic example of enabling behavior within a family system. While often well-intentioned, enabling prevents individuals from experiencing the natural consequences of their actions, fostering a cycle of dependency and resentment. The overfunctioner in the family often sacrifices their own needs, which can lead to severe burnout and a deep-seated feeling of being taken for granted, as I was experiencing. My phone rang. Mom again. I almost didn't answer, but something, a flicker of hope, made me pick up. Chloe, honey, please. Olivia is beside herself. She's talking about not having Christmas at all. The kids are so confused and upset. My heart ached, but my resolve hardened. Mom, has Olivia told you what she said to me? She said you had a disagreement about babysitting. She told me not to come to Christmas unless I agreed to watch 5 kids for 6 hours. That's not a disagreement, Mom. That's an ultimatum. She was stressed. You know how hard it is with 5 children. I do know, which is why I didn't want to spend my vacation providing free childcare. I wanted to relax and spend time with family. Is that really so unreasonable? Silence stretched between us, taut and uncomfortable. But you could have just said yes. Why is saying yes to something I don't want to do more important than Olivia respecting my boundaries? Because that's what family does. We sacrifice for each other. I've been sacrificing for years, Mom. I've given tens of thousands of dollars to this family. I've rearranged my life countless times for family obligations. I'm allowed to say no sometimes. That doesn't make me a bad person. Nobody's calling you a bad person. Really? Because Aunt Brenda told me I was selfish and cruel. Dad said I was disgraceful. Olivia posted on Facebook that I'm manipulative. That sounds like calling me a bad person to me. Mom's voice got small, barely a whisper. You spent $18,000? Finally. Yes, I paid for Olivia's cabin, the kids' ski lessons, Kevin's lift tickets, and I was going to help with their flights. I did it because I wanted to give everyone a special Christmas. I didn't know it was that much. Olivia didn't tell you. She said you'd helped with some costs. She didn't say that much. Well, now you know. And after spending that much, being told I wasn't welcome unless I provided free labor felt like a slap in the face. So, I canceled everything I paid for. I don't think that's unreasonable. Mom was quiet for a long time. I need to talk to your father. Okay, Chloe. I'm sorry we didn't ask more questions. We should have. It wasn't a full apology, but it was something. A small, faint glimmer of hope in the darkness. After we hung up, I felt marginally less insane. Several mutual friends reached out, having seen Olivia's post. Most of them sided with me once they heard the full story. Sophia, my best friend, had been succinct. Holy hell, Chloe, you spent 18 grand on her Christmas vacation, and she demanded you babysit or stay home. Is she delusional? But the family pressure continued. My grandmother called, which hurt more than I expected. Sweet girl, I don't understand what's happened. Can't you and Olivia work this out? It's Christmas. Grandma, I tried to work it out. I said I wanted to come and spend time with family, but I didn't want to babysit. Olivia said if I wouldn't babysit, I shouldn't come. I'm just respecting her wishes. But she didn't mean it. Then she should say that. She should apologize for issuing ultimatums instead of having her friends message me about how terrible I am. Grandma sighed. You young people and your pride. In my day, we just forgave each other. In your day, Grandma, did people demand free childcare or else you couldn't attend Christmas? She didn't have an answer for that. A week after the initial explosion, Mom called, crying. Your father and I don't know what to do. Christmas is ruined. Olivia can't afford to book anything now, and she's saying she won't come to our house because she's too embarrassed. We're going to be alone on Christmas because our daughters can't get along. The guilt washed over me in waves, thick and suffocating. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of, but I forced myself to stay firm, to anchor myself in my newfound resolve. Mom, I love you, but this situation isn't my fault. I set a reasonable boundary, and Olivia responded by uninviting me from Christmas. If she'd simply said, okay, I'll find another babysitter, we wouldn't be here. Instead, she chose to make Christmas conditional on me providing free childcare. That's on her. But you canceled everything. That was extreme, wasn't it? She uninvited me. Why would I continue paying for a trip I'm not invited to? You know, she didn't really mean it. Then she should have said so. She should have apologized immediately. Instead, she doubled down and told me I was selfish. Mom, I'm allowed to take a vacation and not work during it. That's literally what vacation means. You're being stubborn. Maybe. But I'm also being consistent. If Olivia wants to apologize and admit she was wrong to issue an ultimatum, I'll consider discussing this further. Until then, I'm spending Christmas at a spa resort in Palm Springs. I've already booked it. Mom gasped. You're going on vacation by yourself while your family falls apart? I'm going on the vacation I already planned to take. Just in a different location, with people who actually want me there. The silence on the other end was deafening, the sheer shock palpable. Finally, Mom said quietly, her voice tinged with hurt, I don't know who you are right now. I'm someone who finally learned that generosity doesn't mean being a doormat. I love you, Mom. Merry Christmas. I hung up before she could respond, my hand trembling slightly. The week before Christmas, Kevin called. This surprised me. Kevin usually stayed far out of family drama, his default setting, neutral observer. Chloe, look, I don't have a dog in this fight, but Olivia is miserable. The kids keep asking about Utah. Can we please figure something out? Kevin, I appreciate you calling, but Olivia needs to understand that she can't demand things from people and then get angry when they decline. I was happy to pay for the trip. I was excited about it, but being told I'm not welcome unless I babysit crossed a line. She was just stressed. 5 kids is a lot. I'm aware, which is why I didn't want to spend my vacation babysitting all 5 of them while you guys went skiing. It wouldn't have been that bad. Kevin, I said, my voice rising, my patience fraying, your 10-month-old Ethan requires constant supervision. Your 3-year-old Isabella is potty training. Your 6-year-old Noah has more energy than a nuclear reactor. Your 9-year-old Ava is in a phase where she argues about everything. And your 11-year-old Liam would spend the entire time on his tablet ignoring me. Respectfully, it would have been a nightmare. He was quiet for a moment. Okay, that's fair. But couldn't you have just said no without canceling everything? I did say no. Then Olivia uninvited me from Christmas. At that point, why would I pay for her vacation? Because it was a gift. Gifts don't come with conditions, Kevin. The moment she made my attendance conditional on babysitting, it stopped being a gift and started being a transaction. Jesus, Chloe, you've really thought this through, haven't you? I've had 3 weeks and several hundred angry messages to think about it. Yes, he sighed heavily. For what it's worth, I told Olivia she shouldn't have sent that message, but she's proud. She's not going to apologize. Then she's going to stay uninvited to Christmas. Those are her choices. You're both being stubborn. Maybe. But only one of us issued an ultimatum. Kevin hung up shortly after. I heard nothing from that side of the family for several more days. The silence was almost worse than the bombardment of messages. I kept checking my phone, expecting another guilt trip or angry voicemail, but nothing came. It felt like being in the eye of a hurricane. I spent those quiet days doing something I hadn't done in years, actually thinking about what I wanted, not what my family needed, not what Olivia expected, but what would make me happy. The realization was startling. I'd spent so much of my adult life being the responsible one that I'd forgotten how to be anything else. My work had suffered over the past month. I'd been distracted in meetings, short with clients, unfocused during presentations. My boss, Jessica, called me into her office one afternoon. Chloe, you're one of my best consultants, but lately you've been off your game. Is everything all right? I considered lying, but I was too exhausted, too raw. Family issues. It's been complicated. Do you need some time off? We can redistribute your accounts temporarily. Actually, I'm taking Christmas week off. I think that'll help. Jessica studied me carefully. You know, I've worked here for 20 years. And the people who burn out aren't usually the ones who take too many vacations. They're the ones who never say no to anything. Not to work, not to family, not to anyone. They give until there's nothing left. Her words echoed Dr. Sanchez's. How many people could see what I'd been blind to for so long? I'm working on that, I said quietly, a faint smile touching my lips. Good, because you're too valuable to lose to burnout. Take your vacation. Turn off your phone. Let your family figure their own stuff out for once. After leaving her office, I made another decision. I called the resort in Palm Springs and upgraded my room to a suite. I booked extra spa treatments. I made reservations at the fanciest restaurant in town. If I was going to be the villain in my family story, I might as well enjoy myself. The guilt tried to creep in, a familiar shadow. All that money I was spending on myself could go to helping Olivia. But then I remembered I'd already given her $18,000 and, before that, thousands more. I'd sacrificed countless vacations, postponed my own dreams, lived in a smaller apartment than I could afford because I was always sending money to family. When was it going to be enough? When was I allowed to choose myself? My younger self would have been horrified by these thoughts. I'd been raised to believe that family came first, always, that being selfish was the worst thing you could be, that love meant sacrifice, and sacrifice meant saying yes to everything. But somewhere along the way, that belief system had turned me into an ATM with legs. I thought about all the times I'd said yes when I desperately wanted to say no. The family reunion I'd paid for when I was saving for a down payment on a house. The time I'd cut a work trip short to babysit when Olivia's regular sitter fell through, losing a major client because of it. The countless dinners and holidays where I picked up the check while everyone else conveniently forgot their wallets. The resentment I'd been suppressing for years bubbled up like acid, burning through my carefully constructed facade. I'd been so focused on being the good daughter and good sister that I'd let myself become a doormat. And the worst part? I'd done it willingly. I'd trained them to treat me this way. That realization was both liberating and devastating. I called Sophia that night. She answered on the first ring, as always. "Talk to me. You sound weird." "I think I've been enabling my family's dysfunction for my entire adult life." "Congratulations," she said, her voice dry. "You've reached the acceptance stage of grief." "What gave it away?" "Sophia, I'm serious. I've spent over $36,000 on them in 3 years. I've rearranged my life constantly to accommodate them. I've made myself smaller so they could be comfortable. And the moment I set one boundary, they attacked me." "I know, babe. I've been watching you do this for years. I've tried to say something, but you always defended them. Why didn't you push harder?" "Because you weren't ready to hear it. You had to get here on your own." I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat tight. "Do you think I'm a bad person for canceling the trip?" "No. I think you're finally learning to value yourself. It's about damn time. Everyone else thinks I'm terrible. Everyone else has been benefiting from you being a pushover. Of course, they're mad. You changed the rules of the game. I don't want to be estranged from my family. Then they need to meet you halfway. Real relationships are bidirectional, Chloe. You've been giving for years. Let them give for once. Let them show up for you." After we hung up, I sat in the dark and cried. Not from sadness, but from the sheer exhaustion of carrying everyone else's burdens for so long, and from the raw, terrifying fear of what came next. Would my family actually change? Or would this permanently fracture our relationships? I didn't have answers. All I knew was that I couldn't go back to the way things were, even if that meant losing them. I couldn't sacrifice myself anymore. 2 days before I left for Palm Springs, a package arrived at my door. Inside was a child's drawing. Liam, Olivia's oldest, had drawn a picture of our family at Christmas. In the drawing, I was standing apart from everyone else, separated by a large, empty gap. Under the picture, in wobbly handwriting, it read, "Aunt Chloe, please come back. I miss you." I held that paper and sobbed, a deep, guttural sound that tore through me. This was the true cruelty of the situation. The kids were innocent. They didn't understand adult conflicts or financial exploitation or boundaries. They just knew their aunt wasn't going to be at Christmas, and they were sad. Part of me wanted to call Olivia immediately and fix everything to erase their pain. But I forced myself to think it through, to remember Dr. Sanchez's words. If I caved now, what would I be teaching Liam? That adults should ignore their boundaries to make others happy? That saying yes out of guilt is love? No. If anything, I was modeling something important, that you can love people and still protect yourself, that relationships require mutual respect. I took a photo of the drawing and texted it to Dr. Sanchez with the message, "This is harder than I thought." She responded within minutes. "Of course it is. Growth always is, but you're doing the right thing. Trust the process." I packed for Palm Springs with a heavy heart, but also with a quiet determination. This Christmas would be different, and maybe, just maybe, eventually my family would understand why. Christmas Eve found me at a luxury spa in Palm Springs, getting a hot stone massage while sipping cucumber water. My phone was on Do Not Disturb. I'd sent brief messages to my parents wishing them a Merry Christmas and reiterating that I loved them, but I wasn't engaging with the drama anymore. The massage therapist worked a particularly tight knot out of my shoulder, and I realized I felt lighter than I had in years. No family obligations, no guilt trips, no last-minute requests to pick things up or loan money or provide favors. Just peace. My therapist, Dr. Sanchez, would have been proud. We'd spent the last year working on my boundary-setting issues. "You teach people how to treat you," she'd said repeatedly. "Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you reinforce that your needs don't matter." She'd been absolutely right. Christmas morning, I tentatively turned my phone back on. Over 300 messages had accumulated since I'd last checked. I almost turned it right back off, but curiosity won. Most were variations of "how could you do this to your family?" from various aunts, uncles, and cousins who'd been fed Olivia's version of events, but buried in there were a few surprises. "My cousin Emily, I heard what happened. Good for you. Olivia has been entitled for years." Someone needed to call her out. "My Uncle David, your mom asked me to talk to you, but honestly, I think you're right. Don't let them guilt you into apologizing." And surprisingly, from Kevin, "Merry Christmas, Chloe. For what it's worth, I wish you were here. The kids miss you." Olivia does too, even if she won't say it. That one made my throat tight, a pang of something akin to longing. The rest of Christmas was peacefully mine. I hiked in the desert, ate an amazing dinner at the resort restaurant, and video called with Sophia, who was spending the holiday with her own dysfunctional family, living vicariously through my rebellion. "You're my hero," she slurred, slightly drunk on wine. "I've been letting my brother guilt me into hosting every holiday for 5 years. You've inspired me to say no next year." "Say no," I told her, a small smile playing on my lips. "Trust me, it gets easier." The week after Christmas, my parents called together. This felt ominous, like a formal tribunal. "Chloe, honey, we need to talk about what happened," Mom began, her voice carefully neutral, strained. "Okay. Your father and I have been discussing this, and we think you owe your sister an apology. Do you also think she owes me one?" I shot back, my voice unwavering. Dad spoke up, his tone sharper, colder. "She was stressed and said something she didn't mean. You took it too far by canceling everything." "Dad, she uninvited me from Christmas." "How is respecting her wishes taking it too far?" "You know what she meant." "Actually, I don't." Her words were very clear. If I wouldn't babysit, I shouldn't come. So, I didn't come. And I didn't pay for a trip I wasn't invited to. That seems logical to me. Mom jumped in, her voice edged with frustration. "But it was spiteful. You knew she couldn't afford Christmas without your help. Then maybe she shouldn't have bitten the hand that was literally feeding her entire family's vacation." "Mom, I spent $18,000 on this trip. Do you know how much money that is?" "Money isn't everything, Chloe." "You're right. It's not. But apparently 6 hours of free babysitting was worth more than $18,000 and my presence at Christmas. That's the valuation Olivia put on things, not me." Silence. Finally, Dad said, his voice laced with deep disappointment. "We raised you better than this. You raised me to stand up for myself and not let people take advantage of me." "That's exactly what I did." "You're twisting this." "I'm really not. Look, I love you both. I love Olivia and the kids, but I'm not going to apologize for setting a boundary and following through when that boundary was disrespected. If Olivia wants to have a conversation about this, I'm open to it. But it needs to be an actual conversation, not a guilt trip about how terrible I am." "She's your sister," Mom said softly, a plea in her voice. "I know, and I miss her, but she's the one who made Christmas conditional. I just took her at her word." The call ended shortly after, with neither side budging. The chasm felt wider than ever. New Year's came and went. I spent it at a friend's party, surrounded by people who thought my Christmas rebellion was hilarious and justified. It felt good to be around people who didn't make me feel guilty for having boundaries. But late that night, after I got home, my phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. "We need to talk." My heart rate picked up, a nervous flutter in my chest. I typed back, "Okay, when? Can you call me now?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself, and dialed her number. She answered on the first ring. "Hey, I managed." "Hey," she replied, her voice small, tentative. Silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken words, with years of history and recent wounds. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," Olivia finally said, her voice thin, fragile. "And I talked to Kevin and my therapist." "You're seeing a therapist?" I asked, genuinely surprised, a little bit of the tension in my shoulders easing. "Started in November. Postpartum depression after Ethan was born. It never really went away, and I just kept pushing through. It's been rough." My anger softened slightly, replaced by a quiet ache of empathy. I didn't know. I didn't tell anyone. I was embarrassed. She paused, then continued, her voice cracking. My therapist said I've been using the kids as an excuse to avoid dealing with my own stuff, and that I've been taking advantage of you for years. I didn't know what to say. She's right, Olivia continued, her voice raw, filled with unshed tears. You've always been the one to bail me out. The dental work, the anniversary cruise for Mom and Dad, this Christmas trip. You never asked for anything and I just kept taking. And when you finally set a boundary, I lost my mind. Olivia, let me finish. Please. Her voice was raw now, a fragile plea. I was so stressed about everything. Money's tight. Kevin's job is uncertain. The kids are overwhelming and I'm drowning. When you said no to babysitting, it felt like you didn't care. Like you were abandoning me when I needed help. That's not, I know, I interrupted gently. I know that's not fair. You were taking a vacation. You were allowed to relax. But in that moment, all I could think was that if you really loved me, you'd help me. And that's not right. That's not how love works. Tears were streaming down my face now, hot and unexpected, blurring my vision. Liv, I do love you. I've always loved you. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I said. You should have been welcome at Christmas no matter what. I should have never made it conditional. I was wrong. Thank you for saying that. I mean it. I was awful to you. And I'm sorry for how Mom and Dad treated you too. I told them everything, how much you spent, how you'd been helping us for years. All of it. Dad felt terrible. Mom cried for an hour. I didn't mean to cause, no, stop. She cut me off, her voice firm despite the shakiness. You didn't cause this. I did. My actions, my words, my entitlement. This is on me. She took a shaky breath. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I know I hurt you, but I want to try to fix this if you let me. I wiped my eyes, a fresh wave of tears threatening. I miss you. I miss you too, Chloe. The kids ask about you constantly. Liam wrote you a letter apologizing for making you mad. It's heartbreaking. I was never mad at them. I know. I explained that to them, but they're kids. They don't really understand adult drama. Thank God. We talked for 2 more hours. Really talked. About her depression, about my feelings of being taken for granted, about how our family dynamics had always cast me as the responsible one and her as the one who needed help. It was honest and painful and utterly necessary. By the end, we'd agreed to family therapy together. Both of us needed to learn better communication and healthier boundaries. For what it's worth, Olivia said before we hung up, a hint of her old self returning, Kevin said you were right about the babysitting thing. 5 kids for 6 hours would have been a disaster. He apologized for not backing you up. I laughed, a genuine, unburdened sound. Kevin's a good guy. He is. He's also terrified of you now. He said you're scarier than he thought when you're pushed. Good. Maybe he'll help you hire an actual babysitter next time. Already done, she said, a genuine laugh escaping her. We found a great service that does ski resort childcare. It's expensive, but apparently that's what people pay for childcare. Who knew? Everyone who's ever needed childcare, I said dryly. She laughed again, and it felt like the first genuine moment we'd had in months, a small, fragile bridge rebuilt. We didn't fix everything in one conversation. There were still hurt feelings and rebuilding to do. Mom and Dad called a few days later with their own apologies, though Dad's was more grudging than Mom's. Extended family slowly stopped sending me passive-aggressive messages once they learned the full story, or at least a version of it that included the $18,000. But the biggest change was in me. I'd learned that boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary. And people who truly love you will respect them, even if it takes them a while to get there. Olivia and I rescheduled our Christmas celebration for March. Just the immediate family, no skiing, no elaborate resort. Mom's hosting at her house. I'm bringing dessert and wine. Olivia is bringing the kids and hopefully a new appreciation for the word no, and if anyone ever asks me to babysit again, I'll smile politely and suggest they check out that expensive ski resort childcare service. I hear it's very good. My $18,000, meanwhile, is sitting in my savings account, earning interest and reminding me that generosity is beautiful, but it should never come with strings attached from either direction. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the truth, even if it's painful to deliver, even if it means blowing up your entire world to reconstruct it piece by painful piece. It was a hard-won lesson, but one I wouldn't trade for anything. What boundaries have you had to fight for in your own family, and what did you learn in the process?